The type of appointment that I just left used to be the type of appointment that would petrify me early on in my real estate career, when I would look at a certain set of circumstances like the one I was just at and immediately think or come to the conclusion, unrationally so by the way, of what to expect or what was about to happen. And what I'm talking about is an individual who wanted to sell their house, and the house was listed with another real estate agent before. And there's a couple of things there. One, the property was overpriced. They even admitted that in the appointment today. But prior to going there, I didn't know if they knew that it was overpriced. So I would assume in those cases back then when I was a rookie or just not as experienced, that if someone had a high price and they let it expire, that they must feel that the property is still worth that, because if they didn't, they might have or likely would have dropped their price prior for that listing to expire with the previous agent. I would just assume that maybe possibly they're just unwilling to listen or unrational or something to that effect. And then on the other part of that, since they had another real estate agent before and they decided to move on for them, I would have concern over loyalty issues, meaning are they unable to have a conversation, real world conversation, that just gets down to the matter of fact of things in order to work with their agent to solve the problem? Because if so, then if that agent is working on the same wavelength, then something would have happened. It would have either things would have been corrected where the property would have been sold, or they would have really listened with that real estate agent based on the information that they have discussed together. So I would immediately assume, well, not immediately, but I would have a fear that those two things are in play. One, that the seller isn't too reasonable on their pricing. Two, maybe they're not great at communicating. And three, that they're not loyal. And on top of that, I would also be scared of the type of person or the communication I had with this person prior to me going. Now, the type of communication that used to eat at me was no communication, meaning that not only did I not know this person, and the way they communicated were with one or two word answers. Like for example, hey, I'll be there at 10:30, and they're right back, okay. Stuff like that. Like very to the point, not really overly, talkative or communicative. So I had someone who I didn't know, someone who didn't know me. They didn't know me for anything. And most of my clients now know me or research me before I go there. They didn't know me from Adam, right? Very short in communication, who I felt might be unreasonable or unable to communicate reasonably, and also someone who wasn't rational on their price. And I used to go into these situations petrified, as I mentioned earlier. But now, since I've been in the game for a little bit, I realized I just made all that stuff up in my head. That I think as human beings, we go into things fearing the worst or being scared of something that just didn't exist. We made it up. It didn't even happen. And I'm gonna give you a scenario of what just happened. I'm gonna tell you what happened. When we went there, the guy and his wife couldn't have been sweeter. Like the nicest people in the world. They were probably just very busy people, and they just get straight to the point, hence the way they communicate. Or maybe they just don't provide a lot of details. I'm guilty of that too, so I shouldn't judge. And when I went there and had a conversation with them, and this is what may be able to help other real estate agents who are just starting in the industry and trying to figure things out themselves. I'm not saying I'm like the ultimate master at this. I'm just telling you what works for me. Is that now I can go into the situation not worried about things that I can't control, and having just a real world conversation with people. Because if you can't just communicate with someone and just be real with someone and just talk, not trying to get the listing, but just to have a conversation with them, then you weren't gonna, it wouldn't work out. It wouldn't have worked out anyhow. You would have either gotten the listing and they would have been, it wouldn't have worked out, or you wouldn't have got the listing. So I go in it with as much data and information that I can have. I'm prepared. And then I also know that I can only talk about things that I can control. So there's 7 things needed to sell a house. And in this particular case, only 3 have some kind of controllable factor involved. Those 3 in this particular case were the price, communication, and marketing. Now with those, the things that we couldn't control was the condition of the property, which is gorgeous. There's nothing you can do better than what it is. The location is prime. It's East Boca, right off the water. Can't get better than that. One of the most prime real estate in America. And then the other one was negotiations. I can't negotiate if I don't have any offers. And the last thing required is just really good timing. But if you do But that's something I couldn't control either. So I can't control the timing of the market. But the things we could control is what I just mentioned earlier. Two of those are how well I can communicate and how well I can market. So what I tell them my strategy when it comes to communicating and marketing, and I back those up with guarantees. Meaning the two things that a real estate agent can't control, I'm pretty much saying and showing and backing them up with guarantees that there's no other company who can or will do as much as I will on the two most important things of what we can control in this situation. And that leads us with price. So if we go back to price, like Mr. Seller, which this is kind of how the conversation went, that's the thing that you can control. And based on our data, it appears that the market has rejected what we had before when it was listed previously. And if we look at the data even further, that just confirms what the market says. It's just not worth it in the eyes of a buyer right now in this current market, that price. If so, it would have sold, right? Just to be rational, it would have sold. Unless the agent didn't market it well. But even if they didn't, chances are someone would have called if it was priced really well, considering the condition and the location that it's in. So knowing all that, I'm guaranteeing that no one can do better on the things that I can offer. The only thing that would stop the sale from going through at that point would be the price. Like if they hire someone else over price, then that is someone saying, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to price it where you want me to price it, because then they're going to say everything they want them to hear just to get the listing and then beat them down over time, which I have zero interest. I have zero interest on kind of manipulating a situation for my benefit. I just couldn't sleep at night. So I'm okay with that. And also being in this for a long time, I realized that having a perspective of, let's say, 60,000 feet in the air looking down, when I'm looking at a situation, is it really going to have that big of an impact on my life as a whole, whether I work this transaction or not? And no, it won't. If I don't get the listing, I'll be fine. I'm a good enough agent, or I wanted to say I'm very good at what I do, but I realized that could sound a little arrogant. I'm going to say I'm a good enough real estate agent at this point that I know that there is just plenty of business that's going to come my way in the future, and I'll be okay. That's not going to be a big thing I'm going to think of on my deathbed when I'm 90 years old, hopefully. And I'm not going to think about that deal I lost, because I have lost other listings and I don't even remember them to this day, or I have to struggle to try to think about them. And this will be just like that. So going into that with that perspective, with a clear conscience of communicating effectively and controlling what we can't control and guaranteeing that I can deliver the best results with those things, that's all I can do. And if I'm being an ethical person. And if for some reason it doesn't work out, then it might have been a personality mismatch, or someone might have misled them on price or something else. And those are, again, things I'm not willing to do or change, and it's nothing I can control. Anyways, I hope this was, I know this was kind of long, but I hope this was very helpful for anyone who might have been in that situation, or just trying to figure out how to navigate that, because that affected me early on, and through experience throughout the years, these are the ways that I address those things and how I move forward with it. And maybe you'll see a listing presentation, a listing video with me at that particular house, and if so, maybe you'll be interested in buying it. So all right, you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.